Hey, what's going on, man? How's everyone doing? It's me, it's Rod, and I'm here to do a contest entry for Randall Nelson. It's the Let's Travel. I've been meaning to do this since I first saw his video post. So I figured I'm going to knock it out. In the background, I've got Larkin Poe playing. This was a very generous gift from Gary. Physical format rock and roll. This is an amazing album. I had read about these guys. I had seen this album, but I'd never heard it. In fact, on my Facebook about a year ago, there was a thing. If you paid the $10 shipping, you could get like an advanced copy of a CD by them. And I weren't sure who they were, and I didn't do it. I wish I would have. Thank you, Gary. This is fantastic stuff. Just every song on here. Contest. Randall Nelson. Let's Travel. We're trying to get this guy up to 500, 600, 700 subs, 1,000 subs. He's having a contest. It's Let's Travel. Show a band from your region, where you're from, your province, your city, state, county. I was born and raised right outside of Washington, D.C. I lived several years in Texas, and I've been in Tennessee now for 21 years. So I've been away from the D.C. area longer than I was ever there, but that's still home. But I was wondering, am I going to do Texas, Tennessee? But I picked D.C. But I'm also going to show a Texas one, just in honor of my years in Texas. And Jerry Jeff Walker's who I'm choosing. Yeah, I know he's from New Jersey. If he was alive and you'd point that out to him, he'd probably shoot you. He considered himself a Texan. And the reason I'm showing this is because it's live at Luckenbach, Texas. Made famous by the Waylon Jennings song. It's no longer a town. It's privately owned. It's in Gillespie County, Tennessee. I lived in Fredericksburg, which was in Gillespie County. Hondo Crouch, back in the 50s, was driving through. He found a ghost town, or he came across this ghost town. Long story short, he bought the town. The town only has like maybe 4 or 5 residents. The old dance hall is still there, and there's concerts there. The post office is a beer joint. It's really a cool place. Has a lot of land to it. A lot of land. Willie Nelson would have his 4th of July picnics there. Jerry Jeff Walker would have his Labor Day Labor Fest there. Luckenbach, Texas. Now here's a side note. The song by Waylon Jennings, Going to Luckenbach, Texas, when he wrote and recorded that song, he had never been there. In fact, the first time he ever performed there or been there was at Willie Nelson's 4th of July picnic, I think his second one. And I was in the audience that day. So that's just kind of a side note about Luckenbach, Texas. But I'm going with Washington, D.C. Show a band from Washington, D.C. The Nighthawks. Not everybody's familiar with these guys. Those of you who are into blues and the blues rock probably know who I mean. Jim Thackeray was in the band for a long time. Really good guitar player. It was fronted by Mark Winter. Which one's Mark? I believe that was him. Jan Sarowski. Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie was actually a member of the band for about 2 years. Unfortunately, he never recorded anything with them. They spanned like 30 years. They played in every free country on the globe. The Nighthawks out of Washington, D.C. Another band out of Washington, D.C. One of my favorites, the Bad Brains. This is on yellow vinyl. High energy, hardcore, reggae, hard rocking band. I got into these guys in high school because they were a hardcore band. They were, but they just didn't do punk. They mixed it with an element of ska and reggae, and they would blow you away. the Bad Brains out of Washington, D.C., and a song about D.C. You have to have a song about your hometown. I was going to go with Parliament and Chocolate City, but it's not on this album. In fact, I don't have it. But Parliament has a song called Chocolate City, and as racist and politically incorrect as it may be, if you grew up in that area, or if you remember back in the 70s, Washington, D.C. was called Chocolate City, and Parliament did a song about it called The Chocolate City. I don't have it to show. But I will show the Bad Brains. I already showed one album. Here's another one. And this one has Band in D.C. Band in D.C. The Bad Brains. If you're not familiar with these guys and you like some of this hardcore, I don't want to say thrash, but some really fast-paced hardcore music. It's mixed with reggae. Now, if you're just a purist on reggae and I recommended this band, you're going to come back and say, man, this ain't reggae. But it definitely has that influence. It's definitely got the reggae feel to it. They're not full-blown reggae. They're a hardcore band that mixes it with it. The Bad Brains out of Washington, D.C. Had the pleasure of seeing these guys. From the second they come out on stage, it's like something explodes and they lose their minds. And this is non-stop, man. Jumping around, dreadlocks going everywhere. A major influence for the band Living Colour. Okay, so that's from my hometown, about my hometown. Now a place we'd like to travel. Man, when I was young, I had aspirations and dreams of traveling everywhere. Jamaica was a big one. Yeah, obvious reasons. Maybe one day. I always wanted to go to Jamaica. Another place I wanted to go was Israel. In fact, I had a trip planned. It was with a group of people. I'd already paid. I forget how much I had paid already. And we were planning to go in January. Well, in July, 7 months earlier, I went on a date with this girl, and we went to Eric Clapton. It was our first date. And after that date, we just hung out together. And she's now my wife, and we're still on the first date. And because the relationship was so new, I let that trip go. I shouldn't have. Looking back on it, she's like, you only would have been gone 2 weeks. You could have did it, but I chose not to. And that trip was to Israel. And this is the band Lamb. This is a Masonic Jewish band. You heard of Christian rock. This is Jewish rock. And they're not from Israel. But some of their lyrics were in Hebrew. And Lamb. These guys are really, really good. Let me see. I'll tell you who's in the band. You may recognize the two names. Joe Chernoff. And he's still making music today. In fact, someone told me he has a podcast. And also Rick Cogill. I'm butchering that name. Cogill. Anyway, Joe Chernoff, they say he has a podcast, and it's kind of like a Christian devotional early morning with coffee podcast, but it's not Christian. It's Jewish, so and he performs music with his acoustic guitar and piano. But anyway, that was a trip I always wanted to go to. And it's a mess over there now, man. It was a mess then, but it's worse now. So I don't know if I ever get to go to the Holy Land. But that's a trip I always wanted to take and still do. I'd love to go. This contest was for Rick Nelson. No, it's not. Who the hell is Rick Nelson? Is it Rick Nelson, the singer? I don't know why I said that. This is this is for Randall Nelson. Randall Nelson. Got a great channel, very laid back guy. Shows some incredibly cool music. Strongly urge you to go check out Randall Nelson's channel. Give him a sub. Give his videos a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to me, go ahead and hit that sub button. It doesn't cost you anything, man. It's free. Peace. Take a minute out of your day to be good to somebody.